What does service to your country mean to you? For 21-year-old Glenn Harrison, it meant leaving his Dust Bowl-stricken hometown of Guymon, Oklahoma behind and signing up for the US Army Air Corp. The year was 1941, and America was embroiled in war against the Axis powers. A college student at the time, Glenn could have kept pursuing his education, but he felt the call of duty and joined the Aviation Cadet program, where he would become a commissioned officer of the US Army Air Force.
And I graduated from Aviation Cadets in the service at Yuma, Arizona on August the 29th of 1943. I was in the class of 43G. I got my wings and I was commissioned an officer.
Now a second lieutenant, Glenn Harrison was transferred to B-25 transition training in Sacramento, California. As a B-25 pilot, Glenn would have been sent to the South Pacific Theater, but fate had other plans. Due to personnel shortages, Glenn and some of his fellow trainees were instead transferred to the Royal Air Force Base in Snetterton, England, to serve in the Western Theater against Nazi Germany and the Luftwaffe. Glenn was officially assigned as a co-pilot to the 339th Squadron, and it wasn't long before he flew his first mission.
Our first mission was a target south of Paris, about 80 miles at Chateau d'Un. And we were hit right over the target by flak. And 2 engines were knocked out, and we fell from about 24,000 feet down to 8,000, getting 2 engines back in operations. And we were out over the English Channel about 100 to 150 miles, I guess. And all of a sudden, the third engine went out. We couldn't fly on one engine, so we had to land the ship in the water.
They successfully ditched into the channel, and all 10 members of Glenn's crew survived. They were picked up by British Air Sea Rescue, and just 2 days later, Glenn was back flying missions with a new B-17 bomber and a new crew.
We flew that first mission was on the 23rd of May. And then on the 6th of June was D-Day when we flew a mission that day. And then on the 20th of June, we flew another mission. And the target was Magdeburg, Germany. And we got over the target, and the fighter planes and the flak was pretty thick, and I don't know which hit us. But looked out, and the flames were all over the wing, and the 2 engines were out. And so we all had to bail out at 24,000 feet.
One by one, the crew leapt from the plane, drifting down into enemy territory. Glenn made it safely to the ground, but his ordeal was far from over. As soon as he touched down, he was assaulted by German civilians before being captured by German soldiers. This was the conclusion of Glenn's 17th mission in the Army Air Force, and it would be his last of the war. Along with other recovered prisoners of war, Glenn was sent to Stalag Luft III, a Luftwaffe-run POW camp near the German-Poland border. He would remain there until January 1945, when the camp was evacuated. Glenn and his fellow prisoners were part of the Winter Death March, a 300-mile forced march to Stalag 7A. There, Glenn would remain until he and the other 115,000 prisoners were liberated on April 29, 1945. Now, as we approach the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings in Normandy during World War II, our community came together to recognize the heroism of Glenn Harrison and the men and women like him who served their country in its time of need. Earlier this year, Glenn was one of 3 St. Louis area World War II veterans to be awarded the French Legion of Honor Award, the highest civilian honor awarded by the government of France. And on April 29, 2019, his name and story were entered into the Congressional Record by Senator Josh Hawley, as the senator recounted Glenn's history and thanked him for his service and bravery. At our ceremony, a representative from Senator Hawley's office was on hand to present Glenn with a copy of the Congressional Record.
And so on behalf of Senator Hawley, we are here to commemorate and honor the soldiers that went before us to make it so that we can stand here today free. And so on behalf of Senator Josh Hawley, I'm going to come around and present this to you. Thank you for your service, sir.
Glenn's story was an inspiration for those in attendance, veteran and civilian alike.
They went through so much, back then, and it was just unbelievable, the trials and tribulations that they had to go through.
I don't know if I could have done it, being prisoner of war for 10 months and in a Nazi concentration camp. That takes a real man or a real woman to do that, and to me, I have all the respect in the world for those folks.
We would not have our freedom if it wasn't for men like this who did heed to the call and went away and fought for our freedom so we can have the discourse we have today and walk in freedom.
After the ceremony, guests stopped to chat with Glenn, who at 99 years of age remembers his service with startling clarity. It's one thing to read about World War II in history books, and it's something entirely different to speak with and learn from someone who lived through those events. We were proud to see so many members of our community come together to honor Glenn Harrison's service, and we're proud to be able to recognize this man's incredible legacy.
I think we need to teach everybody, no matter if it's old, young, whatever it is, we need to keep reminding the folks what the veterans have done for our country.